Turn Up the Talk would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land this podcast is recorded on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We acknowledge their connection to lands, waters, and community. We honour and recognise the wisdom, compassion, strength, and resilience of elders and the stories they share with us, in hope for greater understanding and care for the lived experiences of First Nations community in Australia country.
Turn Up the Talk podcast, tackling mental health together.
Maddie Studdon, welcome to Turn Up the Talk. How are you going today?
Thank you for having me. I'm going really well, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Drewy, how are you?
I'm great. Looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I am. So you've just finished up the Harvey Norman's Women's Premiership where you came down to the wire, didn't it? A gold. Was it in Golden Point or was it just the field goal?
Yeah, everything. Golden Point.
It was all going on,
extra time, everything.
Wow.
Yep. It was an unbelievable game. I think that game will go down as one of the best Harvey Norman's grand final. Both teams were unreal. Like, I can't really fault each team. I'm just so proud of my girls. We dug all the way to the end. It was a bit of a roller coaster year, but to end it with that game, even though we did lose by 1 point, it could have gone either way. But yeah, it's devastating, and I think I'm still hurting as well.
Yeah, I could imagine. So obviously, women's NRL and women's sport in general is growing. Who were your role models in that sporting world growing up? Did you have any?
Yeah, well, obviously, because I was a bit younger, I didn't know much about the women's rugby league. So I didn't even know back then when I was young, like there was a Gillaroos team or there was New South Wales, and it was called Interstate Challenge back then. So when I was growing up, I didn't have any female idols because I didn't know females played. So my idols were the boys like Jonathan Thurston and Cooper Cronk. And then once the girls started, obviously there was Karen Murphy when I knew there was Gillaroos. So yeah, watching Karen Murphy and then the likes of like Sammy Bremner, because I'm a bit younger than her, just going through the World Cup and everything, watching them. And yeah, I'd say them because that's where my journey started from there, yeah.
So if I said to you at say 10 years old, you'd play NRL Women's, you'd captain New South Wales to a victory, you'd win the Nellie Doherty medal, sorry if I pronounce that wrong, which is the man of the match in the state of origin, and you'd win a World Cup with the Gillaroos, what would you say to me?
I'm pretty speechless about it. Like, I wouldn't expect it at all because I didn't know that I could do that at that age. So, I'm very proud looking back now, and it's fantastic where the women's game is going, and for me to achieve that much already, it's unbelievable. And yeah, I have a long way to go still, and I can't wait.
A lot of athletes have a moment where they think, yeah, this is for me. Can you recall that moment? Was it something someone said?
There's probably so many. I remember when there was like the Illawarra competition, and that's when us girls first, like myself and Sammy Bremner, actually first knew that there was a state of origin because the coach of the state of origin at that time then, he mentioned if we wanted to come and trial for state of origin, and we're like, what? We didn't even know there was a state of origin. So I think in that point of time of my career, I'm like, okay, this could be something, and the women's game is going somewhere. And then 2018 was when the NRL announced there was going to be an NRLW. So I think those are the points that it started, and that's where it's like, wow, this could be something special in the women's game, which it surely is. And it's still semi-professional, but I reckon in a couple of years it will be full-time professional.
So what's that like then? So you're semi-professional. So technically you are a professional athlete, right? To the plain eye, you're a professional athlete, but you're working a full-time or a part-time job on the side. What's it like balancing that? Yeah,
well, I'm pretty lucky how I balance my life. I got a really good job outside of football as well. Even though, yes, we are semi-professional, we train and act like we are full professional. And there's so much out there for the women's game, and I guess like us working on the side as well. I'm very lucky to work at the Sydney Fair, Transdev Sydney Ferries. So I'm just a casual out there just so I can juggle rugby league as well. But I got one of the best jobs, and I know there's girls out there with full-time workers and they balance it, and then there's mothers as well. So with my job, it's pretty cruisy. They're very supportive, and they love rugby league just as much. And so I know all the guys out there, and they always talk about footy. Like, I go to work and it's about football. So I'm very lucky, and I love my job, and then working as a footy player as well. So yeah.
You said that, so 2018 it got the NRLW got brought in. how have you found the changing perceptions over the last few years? Obviously, crowds get bigger every year. It's more competitive. Like, how have you found that as from a support point of view?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Obviously, we know like we go to the stadiums now and we're not going to get full out crowds, but we can hear them and it's so good. Like even though we on the field and you don't pay attention, then you come off and there's actually so many people, even though in those big stadiums, there's actually so many people. And we're just so thankful people want to come support us. And I always hear like guys talk about like the women's game saying it's more like it's exciting. Like they would rather watch that. It's like they want to watch that more than men's these days. And for us to hear that, it's like, oh, like we even got the men's support as well now. So, which is fantastic. But even I think because the pathways coming through, there's so much talent coming through and there's so much excitement. The young ones are like putting it out there for rugby league. So, everyone loves to come out and watch us now, which is really great.
I think a breakthrough would have been that Origin at North Sydney Oval
Yeah,
on the Friday night.
Yeah.
And it was packed out.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the moments where people were like, yeah, wow, like this is where
Yeah.
it should be. Has anyone like from the NRL, NRLW contacted you about the pathways? Like have they ever got a player's perspective about what they need to do to sort of align it, or has it just sort of been it's still a progressing type deal?
There is definitely girls out there that do push it, like we're all pushing, and then there's players that pave the way, and that's why we're here now. So we're very grateful in that sense. But I know there's the Rugby League Play Association group, and there's players in that now are really pushing forward for what the women's game needs, and especially the pathway. And now there is a pathway for the young girls coming through. Like when I was playing, I had to stop at 12, and now those young girls are at 12. They can just keep going to like 14, 16s, and then there's Tasha Gale. So, and then the Open. So it's definitely improved, and it's making a difference. And I know there's been players that have been pushing that.
It reminds me a lot like the old school rugby league, watching the female game. I feel like that you're not afraid to play. It's not as structured as NRL now is very, very structured. And you watch games from, obviously we didn't grow up watching the 80s and whatnot, but you see highlights and stuff and it was a lot more unstructured. They just wanted to whack each other, to be honest. And I feel like that's a lot like the women's game is at the moment.
Yeah, literally, that's exactly how every guy explains how when they watch the women's game. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty like, it's not like ad-lib, but it's just so different. It's not as much structure, even though we do try and like put a little structure, like shapes and everything in there. But I know like even with the wrestling and the slowing down, there's not that much in the women's game. So, which is more exciting. It's fast out there. There's big hits. There's fantastic tries as well. So, that's definitely like how people see it for sure.
It was funny watching that the Bulldogs Rabbits game the other day, and what's the halfback for the Bulldogs?
Burden? Or?
No, Flanagan. Flanagan, and
Oh,
the
yeah.
last 3 times they've played, he's just gone at Cody Walker. And Cody Walker just can't handle it. Is there a lot of niggle? Is there a lot of sort of sledging going on in the match?
Not that much in the women's game.
Okay.
In the Cronulla and Tigers game, yes, there was. So that was probably the most niggling like game on the weekend. But I don't know. I think there's so much respect with all the women's, and like some of us have played with each other so many times, and then others have. But yeah, there definitely is some like sledging out there, but not as bad as the men. And like obviously there is aggression and stuff, but after the games, I think because like all the women are such like good mates off the field, it comes back to that as well.
Do you realise the influence you have now on young people, both men and women, but particularly you were saying, there wasn't really anyone for you to look up to when you were growing up. Do you realise the impact you have on people now, and especially young females?
Yeah, and it's such a privilege as well, because obviously like even young boys coming up and
definitely.
even messaging saying you're my idol, and for like boys especially as well. So it's surprising, and it's very a proud moment as well. But yeah, with even the young girls and even like parents saying like you are literally our idol, like even for our daughters coming through, and you're paving the right way, and we have so much respect for you, and we can't wait for your daughters to be like you. So to hearing all those kind of messages is definitely so supportive, and very, very nice feeling, that's for sure.
We were speaking just before we came on about the steps the NRL needs to take to professionalise the women's game fully. But So along with the services, so men's teams obviously have a well-being, mental health sort of professionals around their setups. Does the women's game have anything like that?
Yeah, so we have wellbeing people in each team as well. So yeah, they're very helpful and they really work around like obviously wellbeing like of health and stuff. And if you need anything, like if you need to work courses, studying, work, they're really out there to help you as well. So yeah, definitely in the women's game that is growing, and I know it will get stronger as well. But they're very supportive, and yeah, if you ever need a chat, they're there definitely.
So on the topic of wellness and the mental side of things, I know you've done a lot of charity fundraisers and things like that to support mental health organisations. What's your mental health journey been like growing up? Yeah,
growing up, I was pretty sweet. Like I was pretty happy, outgoing, and everything. Still am happy and outgoing, but there's definitely especially in the sporting industry, it's a roller coaster. My career has been a roller coaster. There's been ups and downs, and but yeah, I have been in a few charities, and but the ones I've been to, obviously, like the suicide prevention ones, I've been to a couple of them. And then obviously passing of my cousin, she passed away from suicide prevention, so from suicide. So yeah, definitely getting behind all that mental health and suicide prevention is where we definitely need to raise awareness. And yeah, I do whatever I can to help that area. And even myself, I go through some like battles in myself, like with depression and up and down, just with the sport as well. So it definitely gets to you, but if you have people around you in your circle, it definitely helps.
So you just mentioned your cousin there in July 2019. She died by suicide. What was that like? I know you guys were super close. You explained to her like your little sister, like the sister you never had.
Yeah.
Can you share if you were comfortable about that stage of your life?
Yeah, that was probably the worst time of my life. And I just remember the day. I just got to Queensland and I got a call off my family, and yeah, they said the bad news, and I just couldn't believe it. Your world comes down like no other. Like you do hear about suicide, and I know like she had two mates who passed away of suicide a couple of weeks before her, and she was telling me about it. But until you know a family member who has passed away with suicide, you don't know the effect to it. Like people talk about it and they said how bad it is and everything, but it is the worst thing, and I don't wish it on anyone's family. But yeah, she was a very bubbly, happy girl. She didn't have any mental problems. There was obviously other issues around how she passed away, but yeah, like that time of it, and it's actually coming up next week is her third anniversary. So yeah, but it's definitely it still obviously is hard for our family. You never move on from that.
Of course.
Definitely you never move on from it. And especially suicide, the questions are always there, especially why and why did you do it and everything. But yeah, our family's going good. We're a very supportive family. We're always there for each other. So yeah, obviously just help each other to go through it. But yeah, suicide's a thing that it's hard, and you don't know how the awareness, like it's really hard.
Yeah. I remember saying that, and I think obviously as her age when she passed, I think young people, we do it very well to a degree, is that we sort of celebrate the life that was rather than, obviously there's mourning involved, but I think we're very good to sort of celebrate and recognise the good times. What got you through that period? Was it celebrating, talking with people? What sort of helped you through that time?
Yeah, well, personally for me, like when I go through a hard time, I've realised that I shut off and I shut down, and like I just don't want to be around anyone. But I knew when, like, because obviously then it's her birthday straight after, like when she passed away. So then we had her birthday, and then it was Christmas time. So we had those straight after each other. And I think, yes, it is a celebration. And those, we just, like, after a year passed, we decided we got to celebrate her, because she wouldn't want us to be down and depressed and sad and everything. She was a party of the life of the party. So, yeah, so now we do it for her and just being happy. And when we do have a drink, obviously we still have a little cry here and there, but we just know she's looking down on us and she wouldn't want us to be sad or anything. And everything I do personally for my like rugby league career, that's why I came. That year, it was probably the worst one of my worst years playing as well, because my head wasn't right. But then this year it was like, and then last year was probably one of my best years I've had in rugby league, because I was like, no, I'm going to do it for her. I'm going to make her proud. And yeah, that's why I always, every time I run out on that field, I'm playing for her, and it definitely makes a difference.
We spoke with Greg Inglis about that fact that, going through off-field stuff. Can you just sort of take us through that mindset of, not being yourself off the field and then having to sort of go on? Because it is a mask. And I think people don't really understand that. And, we were just talking off air about the sort of the messages on Instagram and stuff like that, and sort of the hate messages. It's really hard. And so how do you manage that when you're going through a pretty tough time?
Yeah, and that's probably like really recent as well with me at the moment. Like obviously I'm going through a bit of a hard struggle at the moment with my football. Just with like selection and everything. And then there's there's journo people as well that had an article on me recently, and it's just all those things. But then I'm such a happy person. I always have a smile, and when I'm around my friends, I don't want to be a downer. Like you just don't want to be a downer. Yeah. So, but then when I go home, I'm just in a dark place, and you just like shut off. And it's just like, well, what's the difference when I walk out of the door and you can smile? But definitely putting a face on. You definitely put a face on, and yeah, like I know rugby league is probably my savior because I love it so much. And when I go out on the field, I never want to let my teammates down, or I don't want to let my fans or like family down. So yeah, I definitely been playing. Obviously, like the last couple of weeks has been really good, and I've just been focusing on my football and learning to shut off like the outside noise. That's why with my Instagram and everything, sometimes I just delete the app, turn off the notifications, and that's probably the easiest way. But yeah, I try and shut off. And there's so many people out there as just keyboard warriors. I know like high profile, famous people, they'll get way more than what I do or what other athletes do. But yeah, it's just how you deal with it. And I think I'm still learning how to deal with it as well, because yeah, it's pretty hurtful, like what people say. And yeah, they don't really have much on. They have a lot of time on their hands to be able to messaging people down like not nice messages.
Yeah, from a fake account.
Exactly right, and they don't have profile pictures on there. So I'm like, come on, be real or don't like message. But yeah, it definitely is a struggle. But I guess like I literally said to my mate yesterday when I was at work, I was like, I've been at home the last 3 days and I've just been so down, and I haven't left my room. And then I leave my room to go to work yesterday. And I felt like I was just happy again in that moment, and I just needed to be outdoors. And they say, just like surround yourself with people, make yourself busy. And that actually is so true. Make yourself busy. And then if I stay home, I just bobble it all up. I think about it all, like the downfalls and everything. But then I was out yesterday and I had a really fun day. And I'm like, I just need to get out of the house and be around people and do things.
What's your support crew like?
Yeah, I got a really good support crew. My family's there. I know I annoy my family a fair bit because I'm like, I don't want to talk, push them away. I do push some people away because I just don't know how to talk and I feel embarrassed, which is, I'm sure a lot of people do. But even my close mates, they know, and they're always so supportive and talking. But yeah, my family's really good, and I just got a small circle, and I think that's all you need as well.
So dealing with grief, and you said there all those thoughts, especially around suicide, and people say things like, suicide is selfish. If you say that, you've obviously never lived through mental illness. You obviously don't understand. And again, generally it's someone on a fake account commenting on saying suicide's selfish. Yeah. Well, no, it's not, because you don't know until you've been in that position. But obviously with that, losing someone comes so much grief and so much hurt and so many questions. Can you just give us some tips, and maybe 3 tips for someone who's going through grief, who's just lost someone, just some advice?
Yeah, and it is really hard because I know like my mates and like family around that time of grieving like always gave me good support, and just keeping yourself busy. I would say that's probably the first one, and being around mates, trying to keep your mind really busy and off the topics. And then I know the other one is obviously, depending how close to the time of it, is just by always talking about the good times you had and always focusing around those little things. And it does, and then looking at photos, I know sometimes that can be hard, but I think for the 3 months straight after Dakota, I was just always looking at photos, always like videos and everything. And I know that was really hard, but at a point in time, I probably she's still my backdrop now. Like it just always refreshes me because I'm like, everything I do it for her. So I think that there's like little things like that. Even if you like going through videos, and I know some people just can't because it's too rare and it affects them. But yeah, definitely staying around friends, keeping yourself busy. Obviously, I ended up going back to touch football and OzTag just so I could have some more like friends and keep myself busy as well around that, because I was just playing rugby league, but I knew when I went back to OzTag and Touch, like it's just a whole new world. And I'm like, okay, it's more refreshing as well. And like my mates knew like what I was going through, like with Dakota, and even through a roller coaster when I don't make Origin and all that stuff. So it does build up, but yeah, I'm still finding ways myself how you can deal with it. But yeah, suicide, I know they say it's selfish, but people don't know what's like behind a smile, what they're going through, what they're getting sent each day, or how like people take you, or like if like it's just anxiety as well. Like you just don't know how to express yourself, and I like sometimes I don't want to talk, but I know I have to just get it all out there. But yeah, it can be selfish if you want to put it as there, because I know you'll leave so many people behind. Like she has left our family behind, devastated, but we don't know what was really going behind her head, and we can't fault her for that.
Yeah. So you mentioned they're talking and how important it is, and sometimes you don't want to do it. And I think that's such a common thing with mental health and mental illness is, 1, you can think it's embarrassing. 2, you don't want to put that burden on someone. 3, you just don't even feel like it. You know, sometimes you can be in a state where just even opening your mouth is an effort. You know, it just seems, even just getting out of bed to talk to someone is even picking up your phone to text someone is an effort. How important is it to talk and speak out when you aren't feeling your best?
Yeah, it's very important. I was talking to my friend on the phone last night, and I literally, because sometimes I just like go and sit in my car, because sometimes just being at home, it's just like I just need to get out, and you just need to go somewhere. If you need to go to like the beach or something, like I like going to a beach and just like relaxing and doing that. And then I was on the phone, and then my friend like knows, like I just shut off, and then she's like, you need to speak, but I was like, no. And then she's like, or have your other friends, like your footy friends, like spoken to you? And I was like, yeah, but I say I'm fine because I don't want to put it on them. Like that's not their problem. I don't want to put my problems onto them, because I want them to focus on what they're doing, like with their footy and their life. And that's where I can see how like the depression is, because I know myself, I do that because I don't want to put my problems on someone, even though I know they're there to help me, but I feel like a burden, and I'm sometimes embarrassed to how I want to say or what I want to let out. And I just feel, I do feel weak sometimes when I do it,
It's such a hard thing to sort of balance as well. What, if you can think about sort of yourself for a minute, what would it take? Like, what would someone say for you then to open up?
Yeah, I think just let it out. Like, you just have to literally, I know it's cliche, but just talk. Like, you literally just have to get it off your shoulders, and then you'll feel so much better. And I think once I'm like, start talking, and even you got to talk to who you're comfortable with first. So if you have a really good mate or best mate, or even cousin, sister, brother, whoever, you just got to literally talk to them and who you trust, and just get it all out. It doesn't have to be all at once. It can be in blocks. It can be, okay, I told her that's fine. That's one thing off my shoulders. And then next time it might come around. But I know there is little triggers. Like even myself, I get triggers.
And even from the other side of that, I know something we've spoken about quite a lot on this podcast, and something that I've just learned from speaking to people is it's hard to ask someone else, because you don't know how to deal with it if they come back and they pour their heart out to you. But one thing I know I've learned, and I know that we've spoken about doing mental health first aid courses and things like that, is all you have to do is listen most of the time. You know, you don't even have to have an answer, but just like you said, getting it off your shoulders and getting it off your chest is instantly, like you can literally feel like lighter, like and such a relief. So I know that's a big thing. And if you are scared to ask your mate because you don't know how he's going to respond, and you think something's wrong, you don't know how to deal with it when he comes back to you, is just simply listen and be there. And, you know, you're not a professional. You don't have to be. That's not why they're speaking to you for. So, you know, there's so many good avenues you can go down, our Headspace, the Black Dog Institute, Lifeline, things like that. Once you finish that conversation, if they're still not feeling good, then you can recommend these things. But I guarantee you a lot of the time a simple conversation can fix a lot of those problems, because I know we're obviously good mates doing this, and sometimes we call each other and say things, and we get off the phone and I'm just like, I can't believe I even just said that. You know what I mean? I'll call him back, or he'll call me back, but like, can you just ignore ignore that we ever had that conversation? I can't believe I was so caught up in my own head about those things. And it's almost, sometimes you just laugh about the things that you were stressing over.
Especially around like good mates and everything, if you can have those conversations and just speak. And it obviously comes down to who you trust as well.
But I think as well, like what you were saying, Paddy, that's why young men particularly don't do it, because they're worried about that sort of everything coming on top, and that, oh no, we're going to get emotional. And it's like, I think that's why we started the podcast. Yeah. That's because it's okay to. I know it's okay to not be okay. It's very cliche, but it's okay to be vulnerable. And I think hopefully young men can learn that and can sort of understand that, and hopefully like talking to people like yourself and like the guests that we've had that can help. But I think they just don't want to be. No one wants to be seen as vulnerable. No one wants to be seen as having experienced something that's different from someone else. And
I definitely know like that with like, man, I got a couple of good mates, and when like if you go to the pub and they start like saying things, but then they laugh it off, but it's like they're probably actually really hurting those other things. And I know that. And I know like women, like we're probably good at communicating and expressing our feelings, and I know men aren't, and they just hold it in because they want to be strong, and they don't want to be like vulnerable or like be embarrassed. Or like I know like myself, like the other day I was just walking my dog and I was literally listening like to no music at all, and then I'm not a crier. Like I never cry. I think like obviously the last time I probably the grand final. But emotionally, like when I'm upset or anything, I don't cry at all. My friends are like, just let it out. I'm like, I actually can't cry. And yeah, the other day, 2 days ago, I was just walking my dog and I was just thinking about everything that's going on in my life right now. And I just started having tears and I'm like, wow, what the hell? And I'm like, okay, I know I'm at this point in my life. I just need to really work on myself and get myself better, because at the end of the day, football isn't everything I know.
Yeah.
But it does affect as much,
Did you feel a bit better after you had a cry?
I did, but I was like, I was still in such a like down mood, and I'm like, is the crying supposed to help or when does it help? But nah, I was like, oh my God, I actually just started crying walking my dog. But yeah, it is what it is.
But just going back to why we started, like you mentioned, I think another reason is, and why we try to get high profile people like yourself and athletes, is for youth who obviously you're a role model and other people we've had on are role models. And if there's someone growing up who, you know, you look at rugby league and you're just saying how tough and how intense it is, they think, you know, they've got nothing wrong with them. Look how tough they are. But then if they can see people like yourself breaking it down and being vulnerable, then to them it's like, okay, I can do this. You know, if they can do it, because, you know, especially when you're young, you look at these people like yourself and you idolize them, you know, and if you can do it, then I can do it too. And I think that's a big message.
Well, I just lost my train of thought. What was I going to say?
Well, I know like the young generation, because I know like obviously going back again, that time of Dakota, they were 19, and I know one of her best mates, he was 19, and then the girl after Dakota was 19 as well. And I was like, it was just like one after each other, and I'm like, what's going on? Is it social media or what? Like, I don't know what it was, but it was just all young people doing it. And I know my generation, there wasn't as many suicide like deaths, but now it's just gone crazy, and I'm not too sure because if it is social media, or like they don't want to talk and they bubble so much stuff up, or at school, or anything, and don't know how
there are statistics on that. And obviously it's not just social media, but since I think 2007 when Facebook was introduced, the suicide rate have gone up. I don't know off the top of my head the percentage, but that's definitely a cause in it, I think. And again, that is another reason we started this, was those suicides you speak of were all in the eastern suburbs, and we went to school in the east, and you know, we obviously I knew Dakota quite well, and you know, it's just all hit home pretty hard. And we wanted to start a podcast as anyone does, you know. Myself, Lockie, and Luca, the third member, and it was just ridiculous what we were talking about, something stupid. And then the suicides started happening. We thought, you know what, let's do a podcast, but let's make it meaningful, you know, because again, social media, we found that everyone would post for say 2 weeks celebrating the life, which is amazing. It's great. But then the grand final's on and everyone's posting about the grand final, and then it's gone. So we just wanted a platform where it's relevant all the time. You can always come. It's 24/7. It's a podcast. Again, there's a bit of a stigma around mental health. You know, no one has to know you're listening to a podcast. No one has to know what it's about. So I think that's a big reason as to why too.
I think with the social media, I think a lot of it would be about expectation and expecting to feel good all the time. I know I find myself like, if I'm feeling bad, even if the big thing for me is exercise. So if I exercise in the morning, I'm normally have a really good day. But you know, some days I exercise and I just don't really feel it. I'm like, oh, well, why am I feeling that way? But yeah, it's normal to not be okay every day. It's normal to not be bouncing up and down. I think we need to normalize that. Like, people think, oh, there's something wrong with me, I'm not incredibly happy. It's like, well, a lot of people are just in that boat of just going about their day-to-day life. So that was another thing. And I think the social media, obviously you're comparing yourself to what you're seeing, and that's obviously not reality. And I mean, How many people have you spoken to the last couple of weeks? Like, oh, I wish I was in Europe.
Yeah, oh my God.
If I had $1
Europe.
for everyone's time,
Or Bali.
I'd
Seriously,
be
or Bali.
buying a house in Vaucluse if I had $1 for everyone said I wish I was in Europe. Like,
I know, I
yeah,
know.
but you're in Sydney, so buckle up.
Yeah, you just got to be kind to yourself. I think is the biggest thing.
We mentioned before about the steps that NRL and NRLW need to take to professionalise the women's game. What does that look like for you? Is that better salaries so that it can be your only job, or is it, better training, better equipment? What is it?
Yeah, definitely. I guess that is our goal, obviously, to be full-time athletes, to be paid full-time and obviously working hard for that. But the NRL have been so supportive and what they're doing is they're not rushing. They're not rushing anything. I know we had to work the depth underneath us because once all these teams start coming in, and if we have like every single club as a team, then we need to have those enough girls to be playing that high level quality on TV as well. So definitely, not rushing it, but I definitely in the future, yes, more money involved with it. Like obviously, if we become full time athletes, definitely with the money, and each year is getting so much better with the money. So we're very thankful, and where we are now, we're very spoiled as well. Like you get so much uniform, we get paid everything. We're like little flights and everything get included. So yeah, and we're playing on the big stadiums. Like obviously this NRLW be playing before the men's NRL. So, but even going back with the first NRLW season this year, where we're all just standalone games, and we had triple headers as the girls, that was fantastic as well. And we got the support, and the views on the TV were unreal as well. So, but I think just keep working on the pathways, which is really good, even in the rural areas like the country and everything. There's so many girls out there playing, and I think that's what we need to do and not rush into just throwing all these teams out there, because then once we get up there, I know like some teams like struggle to fill in some positions because some girls haven't even played opens yet. So it's a massive jump as well. So, but time, I think if we take our time, definitely.
So we did do some fan questions.
Okay.
And I have to say it is clearly the most we got for any
Oh, really?
guest by far. But I guess the one I loved the most, we'll start it off with it, was thanks for everything you give to footy. Love your work, sis. How do you feel about the support that you get? Yeah,
so these are the ones that obviously keep me in the game and keep me doing what I love, because I get so many supportive messages. Sometimes, yes, I don't get back to some people, but I do see all of them and I'm very thankful. But all these messages, like, don't compare. Like, I get probably a couple of negative ones and they do get me down. But then I see all these positive and all the support that I'm getting with my fans and family and friends. And I'm like, I can't compare those negative ones to these, because like I'm literally like so lucky to be doing what I'm doing and making people so happy just because what I'm doing. And I'm just very grateful to be where I am now and helping people like to come up and inspire the next generation as well.
Our next one is from Jessie Godfrey. Now, Jessie's a big St. George fan. Hate to break it to you, Jesse, but we're Roosters fans.
54-26.
Yeah.
54-26.
Hope you don't turn off the podcast, but no, we really appreciate your support, brother, and your question. But he wanted to ask, what is the highlight of your career so far, Maddie?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Thanks, Jesse. But yeah, there's obviously so many, but I'll definitely have to go down to captaining in the New South Wales and winning at North Sydney Oval, and then obviously like the following year I got the Nellie Doherty award. So those are pretty massive in my career. I guess like any awards that you get, you're really proud, and you can't go past them. But yeah, even with the Gillaroos as well, the World Cup, even though I didn't play that game, I was still part of the squad and you win it all at once. So there's many big moments in my career, but yeah, I would have to say a couple of them.
One from Alexandra Ella. How do you stay mentally healthy?
Good question.
Good question. I thought it is. It's just obviously going back to like just keeping active. I love going to training. I love going to training with my mates. Definitely all my best mates are from rugby league. So, and that definitely helps. And then obviously I like going to the beaches, or like I got a little cavoodle dog. So I like going to the beach and going walks with him. But yeah, just being active and talking and being around a good circle of people.
All right. this one is from Brooke. And Brooke wanted to ask advice for young girls trying to come up to league.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, definitely get involved. Listen to all the feedback that comes along with whatever coaches you have. Take in everything, ask questions. Asking questions isn't embarrassing or isn't a bad thing. Like, you rather people ask questions than not ask anything and then not too sure what you're doing. So, but definitely doing working hard off the field and outside of training as well, doing all the 1%ers, the extras as well, and they always make up for it.
Another one here from Johnny McCoy. Thanks, Johnny. Who is your favourite men's footy player to watch? Or men's and women's?
Okay. My men's favourite would have to be Cam Murray. Like,
So good.
South
So
supporter,
good.
and obviously grew up in the same area. We played for the same club, but he's been playing unreal football. Obviously with South, he holds that middle pack and he does so much work that probably not many people realise how much work he does, and he holds that team. So, but yeah, he's my favourite. And in the women's, there's so many, but I love obviously watching Tamika Upton. She's really good to watch. And then obviously Tiana Penatani. I love when she's outside me. I just love her as my centre. And we play really well with each other. And she's one of my best friends, and she's always so supportive. So yeah, she's one of my idols.
She's a weapon.
Yeah.
She's a weapon.
We'll do one more, and that was, who do you not want to run up against when you're playing? Personally, I would hate to run against Hannah Southwell.
Yeah.
She's a beast.
Yeah, there's literally a couple of them. Hannah, Samaima Taufa, Millie Boyle, Chelsea, all those ones. Amber Hall, they're the machine houses. So you definitely try and put the footwork or just run that away from them. But they do a fantastic job in the middle, and they whack people. Good luck whoever runs into them.
So what are your goals now moving forward?
Yeah, my goals are obviously keep working hard. Obviously, it depends whatever happens this year, throughout the end of this year. I'll just keep working behind the scenes. And then obviously next year there's the NRLW again with 4 teams entering, and Cronulla Sharks are in it. So obviously just getting to the grand final for the Harvey Norman. I'd love to get to a grand final in the NRL Premiership and actually win it. So that is definitely a goal, because Cronulla Sharks have been always supportive for me, and off the field as well, they're so supportive of my coach, Tony Herman and Glenn Brayley. They've been 2 guys in my career that have pushed me to the best, and they've always got me back into the game and back into representative circle as well. So I'm so thankful of them too. And if I can work underneath them again, that would be literally a dream come true, and one of my goals I want to do.
I just want to, on behalf of Lockie and myself, just thank you for taking the time to join us today. You got such a positive attitude and such a good outlook, and obviously you've gone through some things that no one should go through, and to see you living your life, and making Dakota proud. She was a beautiful person, and congratulations to all you've achieved and all you're going to achieve, and thank you very much.
No, thanks guys. Appreciate having me on here. It's been so much fun, and obviously I love how you have this podcast, and so people can just talk. Like, I just said so much today, I didn't realize I could say it off my shoulders. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
Thank you.